We warmly welcome all our Facebook viewers, all our members who are there in this special meeting that we are having with Miss Lakshmi Kaul. Miss Lakshmi Kaul is the head of CII in uh, United Kingdom, and she is a very experienced professional, a professional who has more than 16 to 17 years of professional experience. And apart from that, she has been a very active member in United Nations. She has been a very active KP community member as well globally. So I really from my heart do welcome Lakshmi ji. I not Lakshmi ji, just Lakshmi. Sorry, I somehow have the habit of calling everybody with. So I would. So this is a great moment for us for KP startups because collaborating and having a sense of people who have worked in Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, which is an apex body of Indian industries, is really great for all of us, very refreshing for all of us. We certainly wanted someone from CII to actually uh, interact with them. So regarding Lakshmi ji, I would just tell a brief about her. Lakshmi ji in 2015, she conducted a startup event wherein more than 300 Indian startups and MSMEs did participate in that, in which she guided these startup and these entrepreneurs how to set up their business in United Kingdom. So that was a great effort from her. And apart from that, she has been a very vocal activist. Just recently, the handloom campaign. She has been a very vocal activist of the handloom campaign. Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, as you all know, is really trending all over the world. And she has been a very vocal activist promoting the local handloom of India. And she's today, incidentally, wearing sort of a sari, which is totally khadi and all. So I really appreciate her for she not only preaches, she actually practices. And apart from that, she was very instrumental in getting the sari avatar in Facebook. You've got a new avatar. Which is a very interesting feature in Facebook. I was really delighted. I have avatar myself, but she saw that there was no sari avatar, which she felt was not a great thing because that needs to be included. And she campaigned worldwide, globally, and she, forced Facebook or what to take notice. And a new sari, beautiful sari avatar was introduced in Facebook. So these are very small things that I just want to tell about her, in which she has taken great initiative. And apart from that, on a more serious topic, she has been our representative in international human rights commission. And she spoke about what happened to KPs all over the world, and she was a great voice of Kashmiri pundits all over the world. So I really compliment her for all these things. Now, without taking much time of her, I would request Lakshmi ji to enlighten us, because I know UK has become our country has become the second largest foreign direct investor in UK just 2 days ago. So it's a great landmark moment, and I would request her to just enlighten our members, our Facebook audience, as to what can Indian businesses do, what can Indian startups do in order to invest, in order to diversify their companies in United Kingdom. Is there any preferential treatment? Is there any special help that CII would actually provide us in order to move our journey towards UK? So thanks a lot, Lakshmi ji, for gracing this occasion. Now I would just hand over the space to you without any further time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Namaskar, Shalini, Abhinav ji, thank you very much, and Sunil ji, for spending your Sunday morning with me. It's quite heartening to see how many people have joined us. So a warm welcome to all of you. As you can see, the sun is still rising. So my face is quite blurred, but it's a good blessing to have Surya Devta shine upon us. It's nice to have that. Very rightly said, UK has become a choice destination for India. Has always been. It used to be number three destination of foreign direct investment. UK used to be has always been a preferred destination for foreign direct investment from India. What does that mean? That Indian companies are increasingly coming into UK to set up business. We say that there is a long history and heritage, shared heritage. But I make the argument that it is mostly of blood and gore. And we are now in a position where we are saying that we need to almost strike a relationship of equal partnerships. And we are not looking to the world, but the world is looking to India. That has been a phenomenal change. And no surprises that startups and new businesses and entrepreneurs have had a big, big role to play in that. I mean, so CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, I'm very, very proud to be representing the Indian industry in the UK. So what do I do? What do we do? So CII is in its 125th year this year, and 125 years is a very long time. It predates Indian independence. And we proudly sort of say that CII has been shaping the growth story of India, the industrial growth story of India. So businesses, in spite and despite of the changing sort of landscape of the government, which persuasion, which color, which background, industry has continued to stay, create jobs, create avenues, create opportunities, create a thinking of forward outlook for the country. And whilst we attribute India's journey to its people, the people are also entrepreneurs. So I'll actually pay a special tribute to people of India who have played a very, very, very important role in finding the solutions, and we continue to do that. Um, as rightly pointed out by Abhinavji, India recently, in the last year or so, according to a survey done by the Department of International Trade of the United Kingdom government, India, they say that India invested about 120 in about 120 projects and created 5,429, nearly 6,000 jobs, new jobs in the UK to become the second largest source of foreign direct investment. The number one being US last year, 2019. And India was earlier obviously the third spot. It now represents an overall 4% FDI increase for the UK, which is phenomenal. And with nearly 1852 new inward investment projects in the 2019-2020 financial year. Now, obviously, these figures are pre-pandemic, and we are yet to see how the numbers have shown post that. So I will not bore you with too many numbers, but I'll also quote some figures of our own. So CII in the UK has been about 39 years old. I make the joke that my office is as old as I am nearly. The CII office turns 40 next year. So you can, not many women like to tell that their age. But yeah, so my office is almost as old as me. So we publish a research every year. We are in the seventh year of publishing this research together with Grant Thornton. It's called the India Meets Britain Tracker. We launched it recently in the presence of the Minister for Investment, the former High Commissioner, and our Director General, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee. So our research identified that there are almost 850 Indian companies operating in the UK. 850 is a large number. And together between them, they contributed 461.8 million in corporation tax, and they employed about 111,000 people in this country. Um, though the revenue and tax figures are lower than that they were in 2018, they still remain strong. I mean, the number of jobs have actually risen, though the investments overall have slightly gone down. In terms of what that means, it means that there are fast growing companies and there are faster growing companies, and each one has had a growth rate of at least 10% or more, which means that the environment for investment growth, business growth is quite high. And how does that work? It works because there is a full-fledged system here. The government has sort of special teams, inward investment teams that support you. We are here. We have a representative office here and a very, very wide network of partners, MOU partners, stakeholders who we work very actively with. I'm nearly 2.5 years old in CII. I refer to myself as a baby of CII. All my other colleagues are at least 9, 10 years old in CII. So for me, it was a fascinating journey of discovering what the CII did, the expanse and extent of the work that they do. And it has been a phenomenal learning experience for me. It's actually like being in a university and getting paid for it. Every day you learn something new. I don't come with a business background, but I've had a very fast track MBA during the course of my being in this role. And I'm quite delighted that we now have my sort of passion for regional partnerships and my predecessor's sort of dream of pursuing these regional partnerships. I've sort of taken forward her baby in terms of setting up additional India partnerships with the region. So the north of England, so Northern Powerhouse India partnership is facilitated by the Manchester India Partnership, which has been now running for nearly 3 years. I sit on the board of the Manchester India Partnership. We were the founding members. Recently launched the West Midlands India Partnership, the Midlands region. That's where a majority of the Indian jobs are concentrated. And it also happens to be where the Warwick University is, where the Warwick Manufacturing Group is, and where the JLR story, the success story, can be traced to. Tata Group obviously are among the largest contributors to that FDI and sort of creating the jobs. With them alone, they create nearly 70,000 jobs, and those numbers have slightly changed with with the pandemic impact, but but they still remain in a commanding sort of leading role. Many other companies, very popular, prominent names like Infosys, Wipro, HCL, these are the tech companies that are present here. The Taj, we have a Taj hotel here, and they're expanding. Unfortunately, hospitality business has been very, very badly hit, but pleased to say that the Taj hotels have reopened for business here. Now, what can the UK offer? UK can offer anything and everything that the Indian companies require. It's fairly easy to set up business in the UK. But what I will do is I'll take you through what the challenges of starting a company generally are. And I think some of you will resonate with this sort of. I'll just read, I've sort of listed down some key points that might help you, and I'll welcome questions later on. The innovative ecosystem in the UK is very, very strong. It's almost like an R&D capital of the world. There are many commerce-ready innovation projects that are available to invest into in the UK. So if you're looking at a complementary sort of partnership, or if you're looking at coming into the UK and getting support for your innovative idea, that is possible. You can come in as an innovator into the UK. You can come in as an entrepreneur with some investment if you have some, and then you can always be looking for more investment here. With London being almost like the financial capital of the world, you have various avenues for investment opportunities. But what is even more wonderful is that the regions actually are very, very active. We have a devolved administration system in the UK now, and we have the local enterprise partnerships that can offer you the kind of support and um, active opportunity to explore any such support and partnership. Joint ventures, the ESL in the energy space has been a great success story, even according to our tracker. Energy has been a great sort of sector to expand into. Healthcare, life sciences, of course, remain like a prominent sector now for the world. I mean, it's the pandemic has taught us that the tragedy has helped us to understand that you need to really, really focus on health and life sciences and medtech, and sort of a lot of India does very well on the data enable sort of healthcare systems. I mean, the Aadhaar and the insurance sort of systems are doing fairly well. It's obviously a large country, and the world actually has a lot to learn from India. So in terms of businesses, the key sectors for you would be telecoms, technology, digital data, very, very big area of work. India and UK don't have an aligned understanding of um, data storage, but I think that's part of the joint economic trade cooperation conversation, the bilateral conversation that we are going to be having in the next few weeks. The digital and data remains a priority sector that, and India Secretariat is managed by the CII. The other important sectors for you to know is the food and drink, agriculture, as again the pandemic has taught us, very, very important area of work. It's also a key priority area sector for the UK and India. And again, CII is the secretariat on the Indian side for the bilateral forum. Life sciences, I've already talked about. The business services are increasingly, propping up as a key sector, and alongside then energy infrastructure, because both the countries need to look at their not just their physical infrastructure but now also their digital infrastructure. And I'm told that many of you have experience in working in the digital space. So what are the challenges of starting a company? So of course you need to have the right mindset. I mean, many of us sort of go from being an employee of a large or a small company, and then you get the idea. So I always make the argument that whatever you're thinking in terms of what your business is, it actually is inspired or transpired from your exposure and experience or challenges of working in a certain space. Obviously, whatever idea you've got is inspired by whatever you've experienced in your professional working life or even your sort of educational life. So you need to have the right kind of mindset um, from the beginning, and it's not enough to just have the right mindset and know, to know what you don't want. You need to have a slightly open mind and know what exactly is the direction that you're going to travel in. It's a big risk, as we all know. It's the first time startups have come across a crisis such as a pandemic, and actually anybody's come across a crisis such as a pandemic. And many startups have actually suffered because the owners of startups, they had a lot of investment money and all of that, and now this crisis is an alien sort of feeling. They don't know how to deal with it. So there's a lot of emotional stress and well-being issues that are being encountered, and obviously businesses are not doing great. Many businesses are almost stalling and gradually picking up unless the entrepreneurs have had a creative solution for themselves to carry forward. It's very important to have patience, to know the time that it will take. So talking to other startups, talking to investors, doing your due diligence in terms of understanding what does it mean to set up a business is very, very important. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have, I'd like to hear from you all what the nature of your businesses and what all you do. They say that the rule number one is create a business with a clear mindset and a clear purpose that you're committed to. Define that single point purpose, what you're doing this for and why you're putting your entire next almost decade or two on the line for that idea. How crazy are you for that idea? And then rule number two will be to commit to at least 1 decade of your life to the business. That means that not just you, your entire family needs to commit to it, and you need to all be comfortable and okay with doing just that. Your team, you're as strong as your team. They say that you're as strong as your weakest link, so you need to make sure that whoever you're co-founding a company with, whatever partnerships you've struck, you are aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and then you play off that. So it's very, very important to build a strong founding team, and for your founding team to know the ideology and to be bought into that sort of idea. um, there is during the course of your startup, you will have experience that there are two very distinct periods. One is a pre and a post sort of product market fit period. So it's very these are the testing sort of periods of your idea to adapt into the market, how saleable it is, how good an idea it is. Some ideas take off just like that, and some ideas will not take off just like that. But then you see that the mistakes that you made, some other startup has picked up on it, and then you're like, okay, why didn't I think about it? And you're still struggling, and they have taken off just on the basis of a small revelation of your failures. It's very, very important to understand um, this particular, journey of your startup. So you need to really, really be aware and understand that things can feel messy and confusing and complicated in the early stages of the startup. So long as there is a forward momentum, you're doing all right. So long as there is some movement, I think it's that's something that you need to treat as a success. And success is not going to always be in the terms of great rewards. Sometimes it's a very, very painstaking. I'm sure many of you relate with that sort of journey. Your customers or clients, you need to understand and pay attention to what they need and adapt and learn from um, the experience that you have in dealing with your customers and clients. If you're not understanding what your customers need and what you're struggling with in terms of responding to their needs, then there is a disconnect. I mean, there is often a sense of arrogance or overconfidence where you're saying that, no, this is what I need to give you, this is what you need. But sometimes, to adapt and to be slightly elastic in terms of your approach and be flexible will help. So you sometimes may not be able to go directly into the solution or tapping into your customer, but you may have to adapt to their needs and then help them adapt to your idea. So that's very, very important. Very, very important to learn from your customers continuously, because that's market feedback. Um, Storytelling is very important in a startup. The passion, um, with which you explain your vision, explain why you're doing what you're doing, is very, very important. So, for example, if you're addressing a problem, so I like to believe that all startups are almost solution finders for the country, and they are actually currently shaping whatever the growth story of India is. So, if there's a problem in the insurtech sector, there's a startup to find a solution for that. If during the pandemic there was a problem, or even otherwise, if there was a problem with food deliveries, you've got a number of startups catering to just the food delivery. If there was a problem with language learning, there's a startup for all of that. So there's a startup for every single problem that is thinkable or unthinkable. So for you, it's very, very important to master the story of your business and state the problem very clearly, what you're addressing, articulate the solution as far as you've got there. And it's always nice to be able to say that, well, this is a story in progress, this is work in progress. Everybody will understand and actually relate with that honesty. Um, and you need to be able to explain whenever you feel you're ready to bring your product into the market, why it is now that you need to bring the product into the market. It's also important to understand the market size. Are you catering to the domestic market? Are you within the domestic market? Are you catering to very, very local niche neighborhood market, or yeah, is it scalable? Then always be aware of your competition. It's always important to know what the others are doing. Um, so give the details of the product, explain how you make money, and this is all conversation that you will have to have with the investors as well as your customers, right? So explain how you make money. What is the revenue model? Very, very important. Demonstrate that you have the very best team. Be proud of your team. Of course, you're perhaps the visionary and the lead person in the team, but to celebrate the capabilities of your entire team. Most startups function as families because there are a lot of adjustments made in the beginning phase and through the journey of it. You want to be able to look back and be proud of it, not be frustrated with it. Leadership means encouraging others to sort of shine through as well. So remember that very, very carefully. explaining the financial model, being transparent about it is very, very important. So, in essence, you need to be able to pitch your business brilliantly. You need to have the best pitch, including pitching your team. Um, I mean, raising money is very important. And some experts would actually say, then ensure that you, at the beginning of the business, you have some capital secured so that you don't really have to actively raise money. But that's almost like a chicken and egg story. Um, at what point do you decide that do you really need to raise the money in the initial sort of phases, or can your business grow in a way that it gradually increases the revenue? If you have to raise money and get investors on board, which also means that you're compromising a stake in your company and might be diluting the vision of your company, it's very important to understand what you're actually putting out there on stake. So, in that sense, then you need to determine what amount you need to raise, what you have on stake. Um, you need to, with your team, create a target list of investors who are going to be your potential investors. Um, because you need experts to guide you on the legalities and formalities of it, definitely is a good idea to engage lawyers and legal counsel in that process. Prepare all the materials that you need to create that pitch, the financial model, employee contracts, IP agreements, and things like that. All of that is very, very important to create. So, basically, if you're running a fundraising initiative, you've got to run it with precision, accuracy. You can't have any slippages or loopholes or gray areas. As far as you can, spend a lot of time brainstorming, working out detailing, working out to the last T's and the dots. Everything needs to be figured out. And then go right out there and sell, sell, sell. You have to do a hard sell. You have to take every opportunity to make a sale, but then be aware that that selling should not irritate people in your ecosystem. Make sure that each of the founders are playing off their skill to talk about your dream, talking about your vision, talking about what you're trying to achieve with that business is the best way to hard sell a business idea. Once you make people fall in love with your business idea, you getting money in is not easy. It's the same principle for raising money for charity as well. Um, Getting the right advice is tricky, but where do you get the right advice from? So you need to get in as diverse views and opinions as you can. People who've been in the journey before, other people, your peers, very important to recognize, because obviously you're trying to keep an eye on your competition, because sometimes your competition can be your best ally as well. They can become your best complement. And startups have actually demonstrated that you can actually collaborate with your competitor, and actually together you can make big money. That has happened. Um, Startups have a conscience, and it's good to be an ethical business. All businesses have to be ethical. So, almost function like a Samaritan, like a good citizen. So, I mean, of course, the tendency is to get people to sign non-disclosure agreements and things like that. There has to be a level of trust that you need to instill in these early stages. The first thing cannot be sign in, non-disclosure agreement. You have to scout and scout very, very carefully for people, understand who you have around you, who you have within the team. And networking is very, very important, because that will lead to collaboration, partnerships, and meeting with other people. You may have a tendency to be over enthusiastic and say sort of fudge numbers, do an inflation of 5, 10, 15, 20, 30% in numbers and things like that. Don't lie about your numbers. It doesn't help, because it's only a small village. Everybody knows what is going on. Everybody's in the same boat. Technical jargons and grand b school buzzwords are best avoidable. I mean, keep it as real as you can, and I'm sure some of you have that experience, and I look forward to hearing that. Really, I mean, understand the journey, enjoy the journey, because you don't want to be treating this as a very, very burdensome experience for yourself and cumbersome experience. And then The rest is is easy, and you may along the way need to adapt and sort of modify your approach, and you may also evolve as a business. In the UK, there is a good appetite for new businesses, innovative ideas. There are currently collaborations. You just need to find the right match. I'm based out of London. I travel extensively. Well, when there is no pandemic, I'm mostly living off a suitcase, traveling around the UK. I have a very, very strong network via the CII, with the various sort of local enterprise partnerships, the mayors, the investment bodies in the regions. London, the Mayor of London runs the sort of London and Partners in the West Midlands region, where there is the West Midlands Growth Company. In the Manchester area, there's the Manchester Investment Development Agency, Midas, and similarly in the other regions as well. Scotland, we have the Scottish Development International, who help businesses come in and set up. So it depends on what your business idea is, what your best fit is going to be, whether it is a university, whether it is a startup incubator, whether what is the landing that you require. Is it a hard landing or a soft landing that you require? Are you still scouting, exploring? We curate a lot of visits like that for companies. CII has a very, very extensive network, not just in India, but around the world. We have about 67 offices in India, which means every state, every region has more than one or two offices. We have the zonal offices, depending on what industry is prevalent. And then we have the regional offices as well as the state offices, local offices. And we are all supported by the secretariat team is supported by the industry representative, which is the companies. So we have a very, very close, very, very intertwined network of a very extensive network of around 300,000 Indian, companies as members, indirect members, around 9,000 direct members of the CI in in India, all Indian companies, and many of them actually explore the UK as well as the other countries. We have around 9 international offices. UK is one of the oldest international office. As I said, we're turning 40 next year. We are based out of the Confederation of British Industry Offices, CBI, which is almost like the mirroring industry body in the UK. There's also very active in the UK India space, the UK India Business Council, which is supported by the UK government. It's almost like the Invest India equivalent, but not a government body. So they help actively make those introductions and support. We work very closely with the High Commission of India as well. And I've already talked about the regional partners that we have. So with this kind of an extensive network with universities, with various innovators, investors, we are able to offer support. We have a market facilitation team in India, and you may go through them if you require any help. I've already told Sunilji and Abhinavji about our startup team, and it'll be nice to connect up with our CII startup team and see what synergies are there, any support that you can get. We have CII has also incubated a lot of projects. So in terms of the young Indians, so the young leadership was curated in the form of Young Indians, CI Young Indians, which is a fantastic network of young entrepreneurs like yourselves. Great energy, very driven to changing India for the better. Very, very devoted, not just via their business, but in terms of their social responsibility as well. We also have an extensive network for women, which is called the Indian Women Network. Industry still is far, far behind in terms of making sure that there is a gender and diverse sort of inclusive approach. We have the Indian Women Network that celebrates leadership at all scales and at all levels. I work very closely with them. I'm a diversity and inclusiveness sort of champion, if you like, and we have much to do. we don't do very well with diversity representation, not on boards, not on companies. And I actually asked Abhinavji and Sunilji to give me some numbers about you guys. So I understand that you've heard the figures from the Indian companies in the UK, and I'll close in the next 2-3 minutes. I believe that the total revenue in the last 2 years created jointly by all of you is around 5 crores rupees. 5 crores. That's a huge revenue for a group of startup companies. That's fantastic, and you've created nearly 1,500 plus jobs. And I think there's everything to pay tribute to yourselves as a team. Though the male female ratio is 1:10. No, 10:1. 10 males for every single female, so which I'm sure, as and when the network grows and as and when you inspire other men and women around you, youngsters and elders, you will be able to create a better sort of system like that. Yes, Abhinav, it will improve surely. So I will actually stop here. I can carry on rambling on. I'm a great champion of India. I believe that my role is more to be to make people fall in love with India. That's first and foremost. That's my not just my personal responsibility, but also as an industry body representative in the UK. It's very important for people to know India the way that you and I do, and to fall in love with it. We have everything to be proud of. There are challenges with every country. There are evolutionary steps in every country's, growth. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go backward. But as people, as good citizens of our country, it's very important to be very proud of. How we are, and how we are growing and what solutions we are finding, not just for our country. I mean, look at the pandemic, right? We were able to offer solutions to the world. We were able to, in India, manage the pandemic. Of course, in India, currently the situation is not very, very heartening, but I'm sure with a country as large as that, it was always going to be a challenge as and when, the economy were to restart. As CII, we play a very, very important role in contributing to the policy thinking of the government. And sometimes you meet with a lot of resistance, but you have to persevere and carry on. I consider my role as an extension of that fundamental role that my organization plays in India. So I carry on, call myself a campaigning head of CII. I'm always campaigning for something or the other. My latest one is the hashtag handmade in India. Well, I'm not incidentally wearing a sari. I always wear a sari because I'm proud to be an Indian ambassador in the UK for the industry and for my country in my personal capacity as well as in my current role. But I feel that the Atmanirbharta vision of the Prime Minister isn't anything new. We should have been self-reliant anyways, and you're all making that happen. So it's very important to understand the entire landscape. So majority of the maximum sort of businesses, the economy runs on agriculture. Agriculture feeds into the fabric that we're wearing. So this is cotton khadi. So for example, the good crop, when created, it feeds you well, it keeps you nourished, it keeps you healthy, but it also covers you up nicely. It actually, the quality of the products that will be generated are down to what agricultural input that you provide in it. So everything counts, everything matters. How you're going to have, if you have a good infrastructure, your products will, travel far and wide, and it'll be more efficient a way of making your goods travel for those who deal in goods and freight forwarding and things like that. If there is no infrastructure, if there's no electricity, if there's no water, if there's no basic amenities, then you push yourselves a few years and few decades back already. So the challenge always will be to cater to these fundamental basic sort of infrastructural needs, existential issues, as we found in the case of the artisans and artisan clusters. There's a very, very large thriving informal economy in India, which actually creates a lot of informal jobs and provides employment. So handloom industry, for example, the cottage industry, is the second highest sort of job creator in India. We didn't even, realize that. But with the pandemic, suddenly all of these people have been rendered jobless. You've seen the issue of the migrant workers, how tragic that whole story was. And many of them are actually artisans, workers, agriculturists. It's all, if you look at India, if you travel to villages, if you spend time with the communities there, if you just think carefully, you will understand what our country is. So it's very important to keep that conscience alive within your business thinking as well, to know your country and to always be championing your country wherever you go is very, very important. As a Kashmiri Pandit, I feel that that's even more important, because we've obviously paid the price of being proud Indians, haven't we? And I wasn't born in Kashmir. I realized about our exodus much, much later. And it has been a personal pain point and tragedy to not have had those early 20, 30 years knowing about my own community, my own heritage. So I almost take it upon myself as an urgent duty of mine to learn myself first about my own roots, and in doing so discovering a lot of brilliant things about my country, some not so nice things about the politics of or the geopolitics of what is going on. We are dealing with active, incidents of terrorism on the borders, and we're losing lives every day to the threats of terrorism, to actual terroristic sort of incidents, and it's very, very unpleasant. So I do campaign a lot about the rights of KPs and Hindus. I'm a proud Hindu. But at work, you work in a multicultural environment, and you are operating with an open mind. Yet to have the ability to speak for your rights is very, very important. It's not two things, it's the same thing. It doesn't operate in isolation of one another. So I'll actually stop there, and I'm hoping that there are some questions and that I haven't just rambled on. So I'll actually stop here and look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks a lot. Just thanks a lot, Lakshmi ji. It was great to hear you. Very fascinating. I would now request all our members who have questions. I think they can either type in Q&A section, or we would enable their video. So the people who do not wish to directly ask questions, they can type in.
We'll enable their videos, Abhinav, one by
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Will be enough. I would thanks a lot, Lakshmi, and good to hear you again. And it's always been very motivating for every time when we hear you. Apart from your professional initiatives, it's always that what you lead, especially a sari campaign and avatar on the Facebook. That's really commendable in terms of when you what you speak, you actually demonstrate in your works you have done and what we have been witnessing for a long now, and that makes us really feel proud about as an Indian, and definitely as a Kashmiri, as a KP also. When you not being brought up in Kashmir, but still the beliefs and the thought process you have, it's far, far ahead of better than us, in fact, if we have been born in Kashmir. That's so nice. One simple question on behalf of a group, probably a lot of questions will come on their own. As a group, we have seen the diversity in the group, ranging from a 1-year-old startup to a mature business of 20 or 20 years, and ranging from spices trading till from startup of a software or in SaaS or a technology or in manufacturing. Now, and you already spoke about it. There are the process in CII there is which are catering to the startups per se. So
Mhm.
how do you see, or how do you guide us in a way where we build connect a one point of a contact? Because it's not possible, in terms of evaluating a startup generally gets a challenge in evaluating his business, and he sees the right advisors, etc. But uh, as a simple entrepreneur, if I have to evaluate myself where should I go? Immediately, what's a phone away and pick up a line? Is there any sort of thing? It gets easier for anyone to connect rather than thinking big in reaching to the right person, right forum.
I mean, like I said, you have to talk to a diverse group of people, depending on what your business is. There is no one fit all solution ever. There is not ever going to be that one point person who will give you the solutions for everything. Even at CII, we have capabilities, we have sectors, we have sector leads, we have various departments. So, whichever your startup, we do have a startup team who are dedicated to working with startups closely, and then depending on what your business is, they may be able to match make you. So it's a of course the responsibility is upon us as the industry body to help find the best fit for you, and sometimes we do it within the network that we have internally, but also with our partner organizations in the region. So sometimes, with the regional partners in the West Midlands, for example, hey guys, do you have an innovating we have an innovator with us and they're into advanced manufacturing, they're looking into additive manufacturing or something like that. Do you have the best fit for it? Yeah, I mean, Warwick has the best sort of research capability, and they already have companies working there, the large and the small. So why don't you have a look at it and then figure? That's how it works. It's as much as you talk to people, as you discuss, you almost find your path. It's never going to be a single straightforward path. It never is for any business. It's not. If anybody's telling you that there's a straightforward one line, one track thing, it's never going to be like that, because your own organizational and institutional thinking will evolve as you learn more. Your idea might actually you might like to hone your idea a bit more. You may modify it a little bit more. If everybody is selling food, how do you want to, within that similarity, how do you want to make it different from the others or the same? Sometimes the same idea sells more. Sometimes a different idea sells more. It depends on what your business idea is, really. It's varied. But there are organizations like ourselves, and point person who can actually help you at least create that pathway to the matchmaking, if that responds to your question.
Yeah, that's it. I think my second question is now in current pandemic, how do you see UK being receptive in terms of immigration on the business from
Hmm.
alliances and attracting entrepreneurs as such? We have seen a lot of things coming from, a lot of things hearing from US perspective in terms of I experienced with a couple of my clients also, and they are not able to continue for a long in a setup. They have been given some notices. Do you see something getting impacted due to pandemic? And we're not sure because how months it's going to take more.
Hmm.
How do you see UK as a destination for let's say for another 6 months, and somebody wants to explore, or somebody is keen on the business, or had pipeline plans in pipeline also?
Hmm.
Do you see any effect or any from
So
that?
I'm actually receiving a lot of queries to create business intelligence during this time. So obviously you can't travel currently, and flights will open up soon. But with the increasing cases in India, it may not be a very easy thing for people from India to travel to any other country outside. So India locked down itself to the world, but now the world might actually, for some time to come, till India is able to take care of the flattening of the curve, which may not happen anytime immediately. But what that allows you to do is, with technology, with business meetings online, and your ability to connect to whoever you want, it's actually a blessing in disguise. It saves up your initial capital spend on scouting information. So what the world has discovered is that actually free me up, you can talk to people without spending money on an airline ticket and visa and all of that. It's an expensive affair. So you can actually make all that basic interrogation, fact finding during this period. And I strongly recommend you do that. Um, I welcome any emails or any people wanting to explore introductions here. I'll be very happy to make those introductions. So use this time to find out a bit more about the ecosystem here. Something that might work for you here, for one business, for another person France may work out better. For another person Canada might work out better. For somebody else India might actually work wonderfully well, because you have enough domestic sort of uptake. Like I said, you need to understand how much and where you're going to expand. Sometimes your business will do phenomenal. I mean, India is a great place to scale up. I mean, I always make the case that if nowhere in the world will you get an opportunity to test an idea and pilot it and scale it up in the same breath. Because when you test something in India, you're actually also scaling up, and you've tested it against all of those parameters that your business needs to be tested. You've tested your business resilience in India, so it's a great laboratory to be not just piloting but also scaling up. So with the UK and any other country, this is the time to talk to as many business matchmaking bodies and understand what the opportunity are. Setting up business in UK is fairly easy. I mean, the visas and visa offices have reopened. VFS have reopened functioning in India, and slowly they're going to start looking after visas and things like that. We will have from January a new visa regime, the point-based system. Currently, there are the investor visas and entrepreneur visas and things like that. The details are available on the UK government website. I can actually circulate some links for you to share with the members for them to understand what is available currently. And any other information required, I can always share that with you.
Sure.
Some pointed links. Yeah. Somebody's asked about
Oh,
solar power. Yeah, I mean, India is a great place for solar power, and we have the CI organizes with the Indian government the energy summits and things like that, and we have the energy, meetings here bilateral, and solar power is a great opportunity, and of course, India has enough sun. In the UK, we're not as blessed as we are today. We usually are known to have a very gray skyline, but India definitely has. There are many projects in the UK in battery storage systems and metering, smart metering, and things like that. That help companies sort of. A lot of companies are looking at that. So if that's what you're indicating at that, yes, battery research is excellent in the UK, and you will have some collaborative projects there. So solar power in India is brilliant, and of course, definitely. And like I said, EESL, the energy company, offshore wind, have done brilliantly well, and they are one of the leading companies. Great examples of the growth story of India in the UK. Um, then Sachin's asking, hi Sachin, good to see you. Um, how can we attract UK investors in India rather than Indian entrepreneurs pitching it up in the UK? It works both ways. UK investors are actively looking at India. In fact, later on in the year, we will be mapping the fastest growing UK investments in India at CII. That research will be published sometime around October, November time. So yeah, I mean that actively works out as well. In India, you have the Department of International Trade offices, the British Deputy High Commissions in Chennai, in Chandigarh, in Kolkata, in various cities in India, and that's also their purpose to look after the needs of or look after the investments from UK into India as they actively look for investments into their country.
yeah, I think the members can directly ask questions via
Yeah.
their video now. Vinoji is there. Vinoji is waiting. He's a
Hi.
business leadership coach. Yeah,
Namaskar,
Vinoji.
Hi,
Vinodji.
Namaskar. How are you? Lakshmi,
Good
how
to
are you?
see you.
Nice to see you after a long time. We met
I know.
almost 4 years
Yes.
back in Delhi.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sparing your time for all of us. So it is wonderful to hear you. I think whatever insights you have given, phenomenal, really. So a couple of things, though I'm part of, I'm a member of CII here, and I'm also part of your mailing list. I keep getting your newsletters and really enjoy the reads. So thank you
Okay.
very much for that. So see, we are a group of young and adult and young and old entrepreneurs as a spirit. But all the people who are here, who are members, maybe 250 members today in KP Startup. Couple of things I wanted to ask. One is that how easy, though you have already answered those questions, how easy it is to really get into UK to establish a business, and what is the minimum investment? What is the investment? Because when you go to Canada or something, so they have a certain cap on investment, because you have to show some investment. That's number one. And second is, would you suggest to all the KP startups, especially, to really start collaborating before really investing and going there? I think the initial collaboration with the local authorities like CII and other startup cell which you have, to really start collaborating and understanding each other, and really getting synced with UK establishment and the business environment, so that, if tomorrow they think that, yes, there is some possibility of joining hands with the local company, or maybe starting something in a joint venture. Because I, as a business coach, as a consultant, I won't suggest anyone to jump in just like that, because there is somebody there. Definitely you will handhold. I know that, you are a responsible organization, you will handhold. But initially there is lot of in the mind, people may not take that call, that we have to go, because it's very difficult for small businesses to really, or startups to really think out of India being the, as you rightly said, India being the biggest market here, and the laboratory and incubation in itself. So what do you think, what is the minimum investment? And second question is that, would you suggest that they should start collaborating and building bridges first before really getting into the whole system?
I mean, there are two approaches. One is to so investment wise, sometimes you may not need any investment at all, except for being able to sustain yourself for the initial, say, 6 months or so. So that kind of money, you have to make sure that you know that you may not earn anything back in the initial period. So you need to have enough to sustain yourself for those business leads generation and all of that. So that's why it's very important to create that business intelligence before you coming into the country. And there are the Innovate UK have many grants that are available for innovators. So if you come in as an innovator with the UK government, you can get that support and investment, and they at least put in some money into your business and say that okay, and they'll handhold you, they'll incubate you, and there is that opportunity to do that. The other way of doing it is that if you have a ready business, if you've had experience in demonstrating success, you can either open a representative office here in the UK and then carry on your business leads and things like that. So that means that there are overheads and there are costs and things like that. And you can hire a local, lawyer and an accountant to manage your basic functioning. You can function from home. You need like an address for correspondence, so you can register your entity like that, and there are legal support and legal advice available to help you go through that entire process, which also means that getting, bless you, also then help you register your visas and apply for them. The visa regime in the UK is currently going through a slight change, so in January things will change. Right now travel is not yet open, so it's still almost like that in between period. So this is a time when I'll repeat that, talk to as many people in the DIT. You have the British Deputy High Commission in India. That's a great place to actually connect into. They have the investment teams as well. They may be able to support actively what needs to be done. I'm of course here. I can connect you with whoever you need. Investment, it varies really. I mean, for the entrepreneur visa, there's a requirement for about £2 million. That's like you get all the privileges and all of that, but not everybody may be able to raise, £2 million at the initial phase. So it depends really what you need to do, and the way in which you'll come into the UK. Sometimes you can come in collaboration. Sometimes you can, already know some businesses here, or you can come in as a very, very new innovator who gets support from the UK government to incubate. And there are a lot of soft landing opportunities. In fact, with the CII, we are trying to arrange a mutual soft landing platform for UK and Indian startups. That's something that we should be able to take off. We've introduced some companies to the regions. I mean, there's a film studio, famous studio, that we introduced to the Manchester, and they've now got a studio there. And so it depends really. Sometimes in that business, just we had a delegation, and then just after they went back, they were able to immediately come back and set up. within a few months, they were all set up and ready, and they're already doing good work.
I think it more depends on the preparedness of the startup or the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
preparedness.
sometimes also the ability to take the risk, and who's going to absorb the shock of that risk.
So on behalf of KP Startup, I would really love that, if we all come together and really have some kind of an association with your startup ecosystem there will be really fantastic for all of us, all the entrepreneurs here. And thank you very much, Lakshmi, for your insights.
Thank you, Vinodji. Very good to see you. And thank you for spending your Sunday with me. It's not...
No, it's always a pleasure. It's now a mission, because we are now, this science of entrepreneurship we are trying to bring in now. We are trying to handhold and really coach entrepreneurs here on this platform. And towards the end of the month, we are starting a foundation coaching, course for entrepreneurs. And we will really prepare some of the best entrepreneurs who can actually invest and settle their best quality life in UK as well. So that's
certainly.
Thank you.
We have a very vibrant KP community here, so please come. Please add to that vibrant community.
We'll come with the delegation. That is, the moment the flights are open, we'll come with the delegation first.
Definitely. I look forward to that.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Vikram Kaul, you can.
Hi, Vikram.
Hi Lakshmiji, namaskar. This is Vikram Kaul, and my question is very simple and a very industry specific question. I am into clothing industry. I'm into manufacturing of garments for a lot of brands in India, and we do export as well sometimes. So I just want to understand, how can CII help me to understand UK as a better market for me to export to UK, because UK has been a good destination for clothing export for the past so many years. We do around India does around 800 million of clothing export alone to UK in knits category, which we do as well. So how can CII help me to understand and create more business associations in UK without myself going there and investing and setting up a representative office over there? Firstly, I would like to understand how can CII help me to understand what and all and people I can associate there with, and then probably do some business over there. And then if we see that yes, the market is accepting what we are doing, and we have that kind of viability for a long-term shot, then I would really like to even have a representative office, probably set up some a small team over there to who can handle the business much more in a better way. Because I feel once you have an office there, it'll be easier to tap more clients, it'll be easier to create more business associations, much more transparency.
So that kind of market research and market facilitation support we can offer, not just from the UK but from India, to get you the basic research on what are the avenues for you to explore into. Obviously, one needs to understand what your business is and what kind of clothing. Clothing is fairly wide based. It could be just materials, it could be ensemble, it could be fashion ensemble, it could be artisan products, it could be anything, right? And it could be other products around it. So happy to have a chat offline and connect you to my market facilitation team, and they can help with that. And in the UK, we can connect you to some of the people who are able to offer you that kind of business intelligence as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmiji. Anyone else who has any question?
No, women have questions. I saw Sunita ji there who's commenting on the chat.
Sunita ji, if you have any questions, you can directly ask Lakshmi ji. She would be more than happy to answer a lady entrepreneur, because she is normally...
Come on, girls, you've got to speak up.
One of the questions Sachin Rana had, that question was that UK has not got very stable governments as of late. So is that really affecting the Indian business community or business environment? Is that what was your question? Sachin, am I asking this correctly? Stable governments in the scene, maybe this frequent change in governments. So is it really affecting the business ecosystem for Indian people there, or it is nothing related to business ecosystem, that
well, as far as I'm aware, we have a very stable government. We have a majority government in the UK.
Even I was wondering, so I was not very
sure. Se news पढ़ रहे हो भाई?
It's a fake news.
Actually, for example, Theresa May, when she was a PM, All
Yeah.
she could offer to Indian businesses was a priority checkout at airport. I mean, what sort of facilities do
But
we have for
that's
it?
ages ago. No, now you have Mr.
No, no.
Boris
After
Johnson.
that,
Huh?
we didn't hear anything for Indian businesses. Maybe they are coming
You
up.
heard yesterday, second highest FDI investor into the UK. Yaar. News thoda updated.
I don't know about yesterday,
Yeah,
but
that's very
this was
Huh?
little.
No, no, you're right. I mean, in UK has gone through a lot of up and down because obviously Brexit referendum took place, and around that we had many snap elections. You're absolutely right. There was a there was a period of flux and upheaval in the UK, and that has derailed a lot of plans for future. But actually, like I quoted our research earlier on, our numbers have steadily continued. There you go. I can see Sunita ji. Very
good.
nice to
Yes,
see her.
ma'am. Yes,
I
I
can
think
see
she
your
should ask a
lovely.
treasure.
question anyways.
Well, we have met face to face as well. I hope you remember when it was AIKS meeting there in Jammu
Oh yeah, yeah,
with
yeah. Very nice to
Rajiv
see.
Pandita. There
Yeah,
was a
yeah, yeah.
meeting. We were there. We exchanged our business cards as well.
Yes.
Well, I am into education sector and I deal with UK universities already. But yes, of course, have some great, dreams of exchanging students when we have something of our own in India, and then we can exchange students. I'm hoping to have a college and a school in near future wherein we can
Mm.
have exchange of students, and then that sort of business we can do with UK as well. But as of
Mm.
now, we are stuck up in pandemic, and the projects have been
Stalled. Yeah,
postponed
yeah.
for the time being. So let's hope for the best. Yes, of
It's
course,
a
we would
great time
be
for
requiring your
digital.
help
Yeah, yeah.
time to time. But as of now, it is stuck up. But then it
Yeah.
was really great hearing you today. A
Thank you.
nice message and nice information shared. Thank you so much, and have
You've
a
seen
great
me in a
time.
very different avatar today because I think back then you saw me in my political avatar. No, so I'll just quickly
True,
finish off
true, true.
Sachin's response. So Brexit remains a concern for UK, Sachin. We will be Brexiting. Brexit is a reality. We were still, working out the delaying of the agreement and all of that. So it's not just the post-pandemic, but it's also post-Brexit scenario that remains a concern. And um, uh, we have a stable government, but we have many other economic challenges in terms of our relationships with the European Union, as well as the other parts of the world. But the good news is that UK has been very, very pragmatically signing and working towards trade deals with many countries. And you will see in the news that there are many active trade discussions going on currently, and obviously notwithstanding the China situation, the Hawaii issue, you've all read about. But in terms of the European Union, UK will always be a preferred destination. And we did a survey recently with our Indian companies and asked them why UK is still a favored destination. One of the reasons why UK is a favored destination is the proximity to Europe. Um, so UK will always remain a favored destination, and EU needs UK. UK needs EU. We don't work in isolation. There's been from globalization. There's a very protectionist sort of mindset that has seeped in, but it's almost like it won't be in absolute terms ever. It will always be that, of course, you need to be Atmanirbhar in the UK as well as in India, right? I mean, everybody's moving towards self-reliance, localization of projects and things like that. But then at one point, you need to export to make money. You have to export. And, Vikram will tell you that if you don't export, you don't make any money. You don't trade, you don't do any real business. You're just sort of catering to your local economy, and that's not going to get you big money. So you have to do that kind of business and trade. So that's important. Brexit still remains a challenge. The industrial strategy has been worked out, and there'll be further revisions to it and all of that. So it's work in progress. On behalf of the Indian industry, together with the Indian companies here, we have almost laid out a three broad step kiosk of the Indian industry, of the UK government, and there are active conversations happening with every single department in the government currently. We have an India Business Forum here. where members of the CII and Indian industry participate in active conversations discussing what will it take to get a better landing or landscape for Indian companies here. So through the pandemic, there were many provisions that were announced by the UK government, tax holidays, follow schemes and things like that. And we were very actively trying to make sure that our companies benefit from those. With Brexit also, similarly, many of our companies employ a lot of European population. And so our numbers had sort of slipped in terms of employment numbers from Europe because people were kind of jittery about what's going to happen, but those numbers are stabilized now. So the UK government is also actively making sure that there isn't too much disruption within the already disrupted ecosystem. So yes, Brexit is looming. Brexit is a reality, and we will have to go through whatever. But the pandemic has been a bigger disruption for all of us. It's changed the way businesses think. A lot of commercial properties are now staying empty, and there isn't very much that you can do about that, and you just have to adapt and readapt and sort of innovate. So yeah, that's that. Any other question? I know that Abhinav wants to wrap up in 5 minutes.
No. Well, Lakshmi, I just had a question. There is a visa thing available in Canada, wherein a business entrepreneur can directly come to Canada based, or even US, if he has this much of investment, so they can get the visa very easily without any hassles. So what I wanted to know, is there anything like that in United Kingdom, wherein if
There
we
is,
do some
yeah.
investment, you get a express visa, so you don't have to
You do.
get into.
You
So
do.
what's
We
that
have a
exactly?
fast track mechanism of visas in the UK, between UK and India, and that is primarily to fast track some of the business interactions. But more specifically in the UK, you have an entrepreneur visa,
Yeah.
which is what you need to make a 2 million investment, and then you get a fast track because of that sort of nature. You
Is
get.
it 2 million pounds, or yeah, 2 million pounds or 2 million rupees? 2 million pounds. Okay, sure.
So I think it is 2 million pounds. I can send you the details for
Yeah,
that.
please,
Yeah,
because there may be
and
people.
yeah, and then there are other startup visa. वो सारे धीरे-धीरे change हो रहे हैं. They will all
Correct.
be adapted and modified into the new system. But currently they still hold. So I can send you the
Yeah,
details for
please,
that.
because the startup visas is what we are more
Yeah,
concerned
yeah,
about.
yeah,
So I think we would wrap up. This was such an exciting session,
yeah. Can I
wherein
just
we.
quickly respond to Sunita ji? I just forgot. मैं भूल
Yeah,
जाती
yeah,
हूँ
please,
ऐसे.
please do.
So Sunita ji, this is, of course, things have stalled, but this is also the time when a lot of online learning has taken off. So in terms of partnerships and sort of joint courses and things like that, there are a lot of opportunities within that space that you can explore. So you already
Okay.
work with universities here. So digital learning, online courses, if you have any specific courses, even, within any niche subjects, the physics, the chemistry, and all of that. There are
Right.
opportunities here. So that's something that you may like to look at. UK Research
Right.
Institute might be able to, help. So if you drop me a line separately, I
Okay.
can connect you to the people and you can explore. Also within the
Sure.
regions,
Sure.
there are many universities who are keen. Some of the big, very obvious names, but some of the not so obvious names are also looking at actively that kind of collaboration.
Okay.
So I could connect you to some people, and you could explore while you're waiting for
That would
the
be really
pandemic.
great of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We would really like to be associated
Thank you so much.
with
Thanks a
CII,
lot for your,
Lakshmi.
help and support.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Uh, Lakshmi ji.
No, with CIS startup team, I mean, I've connected you already to my colleagues. So
Yeah, one
any,
more request. Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
Great. That would be great, because if we get a regular, mailing list,
sure,
newsletters from CII, that will be great, because that will
sure,
really,
certainly.
connect us with CII. I
Lakshmi,
think,
Vivian has already accepted for us to host the
the
group
next Sunday.
Yeah,
Sunday.
The next
Excellent.
Sunday.
So you're already rolling.
To the next level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
Evan is coming on next Sunday, and
He's fantastic. They're
very
brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
so that's the
excellent.
next. I think you already took the suspense away for the group. So for us, who's leading CI Young Indians, young startups in the country.
So thanks a lot. Thanks.
He
Thanks
heads
a lot,
the
Lakshmi.
he's the chair of the Mumbai chapter.
Great.
But you have other chapter chairs and you have the
He's
secretariat team. So
connecting
he's
us
the
to
industry.
everyone, and this is what it.
Very, very. He's also the president of the Commonwealth Association for Young Entrepreneurs. And Commonwealth, I was going to say in the EU context, has been fast emerging. The CHOGM, the Rwanda 2020 has moved to Rwanda 2021. So it will happen next year. So there's a lot of Commonwealth businesses that are interested. So UK provides that almost, it's like the back office of deal making for the rest of the world. And I've hosted many different countries, our industry meeting with various different countries from around the world, because you have embassies here for everyone. So it's almost like a fantastic melting pot of not just cultures, but it's actual deal making backroom of the world. So I mean, UK is a great place and it's a vibrant country. You don't feel like you've come to a foreign country. Look at me, like, I mean, this is very as desi as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can end the session now. I would be really looking out for, as soon as the pandemic is over, then we, as Sunil ji rightly pointed out, that we can lead a delegation to UK with all our.
We have a kosher
Yeah.
startup as well. They do a lot of great food. Firsal. We have the restaurant Kashmir, which is fine dining. We have many startups here. We have many
Great stuff.
entrepreneurs here. So it'll be nice to
really
meet
love to
you.
interact with them more and more. And yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Lakshmi ji. It was a superb session. Thank you. And we would request you more and more to be in touch with us. Your email is there. If there's anyone who
it's my first name dot second name Kaul with a KAUL, Lakshmi with a KSHMI. Lakshmi.kaul@cii.in. It's very simple.
Yeah, great.
So just write to me.
So anyone has any questions, any help that is required, can directly access this email address. So thanks a lot. We would be looking for more interactions with you in coming down, as well as
I'm so delighted to see that we have entrepreneurs within the community, because we are always known for our knowledge traditions and all of the jo bhi hame abhi kuch pata nahi hai. Our generation have almost the tragedies that we don't know very much. So I hope that as a community group, we also encourage reconnecting to our roots. It's very important. Very, very important.
It's very important.
Abhinavji, just one last thing I wanted to say.
Sure.
So this is not nothing related to me. As you spoke, your latest follow-up is based on rural handmade in India, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we have somebody based in London, Kashmiri Pandit named Konark Ogra. He's also in the group. I don't know why he's not come today.
Yeah, Konark's my adopted son.
Oh. I thought, so I'll just put you in the case that he's been in London.
अभी वो nappies change करने में busy है. So yeah, Konark knows about. I don't know if he knows about the startup meeting, but he certainly knows about the campaign.
Konark
is a relative of Vikram, I believe.
No, he was my batchmate in college.
He's your batchmate.
Everybody's related to everyone. So no, Konark is very well known. If he's watching, hi Konark.
But he's not here. So he's also into rural handmade. Is his startup in London.
Yeah,
he's trying to get artisans on board from third world countries to sell goods in the west of the world.
Yeah.
So that is something
I'm certainly familiar with his business and his team as well. So yeah, he's UK के बटों को मैं जानती हूँ काफी सारे. I'm sure there will be many that I don't know. Sachin knows.
Mara, I just wanted to ask you, do you know Mr. Ashok Kotha? He is from the diplomatic mission. He was working in Ashok Kotha ji.
Was in the High Commission.
High Commission. He was a very senior guy. He actually is not a neighbor, but he lives in a society. But his daughter is in Canada. His his son is in London, and he was in UK diplomatic mission for a very long
No,
time.
I don't personally know him.
So,
So you
yeah,
see,
yeah,
you don't
so,
know everyone.
yeah, I
There's
can,
always going to be some
I can
people.
understand. No problem. I think I'll certainly refer, because he would also be watching this, and he
Namaskar,
is
Mara.
yeah.
I
Anyway,
apologize for not making an introduction, but I
anyways,
don't know
anyways,
everyone.
anyways,
Yeah,
anyways, Mara, it was fantastic.
excellent. Please
Interacting
keep
with
the
you.
energy going. It's
Absolutely,
great that you're
absolutely.
going to connect with Vivin and the young Indians. You'll
Yeah.
love the group. Great energy. Keep connecting to your roots. It's very important. Be proud of who you are as an Indian, as a Kashmiri Pandit.
And I can
Very,
assure
very
you that
important.
we'll be supporting all your campaigns, Facebook campaigns, any campaign that you ask
अरे
us.
बड़ा cool campaign है
Hashtag
सब
campaign.
तस्वीरें डालो तुम तो कपड़े बेचते हो यार तुमको तो करना ही चाहिए
Yeah, you should do it.
Biggest task Abhinav is to get women entrepreneurs now.
बेचते नहीं हो तो पहनते तो हो ही ना I mean
Yeah.
Sachin's actually designed some really nice cool posters as well
But he's
and so
he's actually not in retail. I asked him for 3 t-shirts. He said, "No, yaar, we do not make knitted ones."
कोई बात नहीं
Just a
कोई
joke.
बात
It was
नहीं
just a joke.
no,
Anyways,
it's all
Vikram.
right.
Chalo. Anyways, thanks a lot. I think we have really overshot the time. Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah. Sorry to
Thank you.
take
Thank you,
you
everyone.
take so
Thank
much
you.
of your
To our
time.
members.
See
Thank you,
you.
Facebook
Bye-bye.
audience. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Namaskar.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much, ma'am. Thanks a
Bye.
lot.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye. Bye,
Abhinavji,
ma'am.
Sunilji.
Bye,
Thank
Vikram.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.